Hello everybody and welcome to Whisky Daddy. This is Whisky Daddy review number 1 for the Balvenie 17-year-old Rum Cask. Thank you, so kind. Alright, this is a 17-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey coming from the Balvenie distillery up in Speyside, Scotland. It's a region that is full of distilleries up there. This one happens to be one of the 6 distilleries in Scotland that still does their own floor malting. So it has a very unique honey caramel characteristic that is very distinguishable. When you're drinking a Balvenie, you know you're drinking a Balvenie. The other 5 that do this floor malting are Laphroaig, Bowmore, Kilchoman. Those are all on Islay, by the way. Benriach, which is up in Speyside along with Balvenie. And the other one is Springbank down in Campbelltown. And all of those 6 whiskeys, Balvenie included, have a very distinct characteristic, and some of that comes from that floor malting process. Now, whenever you're dealing with an older whiskey like this, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old whiskeys, you got to give them a little bit of time to open up in the glass. I've already poured this glass out about 10-15 minutes ago, capped it off. I put 1 little drop of water in it. The water is personal preference and experience too. With the older whiskeys, you generally don't want to add too much water. From experience of drinking this whiskey, and I've been doing a lot of experimenting for you guys, as you can see there. You only need a drop. Any more than that, I find it makes it way too tannic. It gets really cask dominated, and I don't enjoy it as much. Okay? Now, with this particular whiskey, the ABV on it is 43%, and it is chill filtered. We don't like that, especially with a whiskey that costs as much as this one does. We'd really prefer it to be non-chill filtered and at least at 46%. It was only released one time in 2008. I was a little bit iffy about even reviewing this whiskey for my first whiskey, but I decided, since I didn't see any other videos online about it, might as well go ahead and do it for somebody who does come across it like I did. And if you do see it, I do recommend that you buy it. It is very good. Alright, let's get into this thing here. Now you notice as well, I've got this bottle of Pig's Nose over here. This is a blended Scotch whiskey, and I poured a glass of this as well. A lot of times when I'm drinking these older single malts, I like to have a little blend on the side. Start with that, get the whistle wetted a bit, get your nose acclimated, and then you go on to your special single malt. It's cheap, it's a good blend, but it'll give you a nice point of reference for your older, nicer single malts. So on the nose, the first thing you're going to notice with the Balvenie 17yr Rum Cask is it smells a lot like a rum. It reminds me a lot of a Mount Gay black barrel. You get that molasses, that burnt sugarcane kind of a smell to it. And the usual things you expect with Balvenie: honey, barley sugar. There's a little bit of a solvent note in there. When you first pour the glass, it dissipates after about 3 or 4 minutes. It's not that bad at all. Get some floral aromas in there: rose water, lilies, caramel and vanilla coming from that 17 years that it spent in that oak cask in there. But once you really stick your nose in there, you know it's a Balvenie. You get past that rum characteristic, and you know that you're drinking or nosing a Balvenie. I wrote some notes down here about the nose on it. Molasses and burnt sugar, honey, scorched caramel, vanilla, slight solvent note, as I said, dissipates over time. And after you've added the water, you will notice a little bit more oak, some orange peel, some light brown sugar, and more of the barley sugar coming through. Okay? All right. Let's taste it. The arrival is very sweet, right off the get-go. Sweet, honey, barley sugar, vanilla. The rum characteristic, it actually, unlike in the nose where it's very upfront, it comes a little later, more in the development. You start to get some of those molasses notes, some of those burnt caramel, burnt sugarcane notes coming in. Give it a little taste here. There's a little one. Let it sit on the tongue. And after this whiskey has been allowed to open up, you're going to get a real green fruit note, like a green, like a sour apple, like a Granny Smith apple, but not really fresh, more like it's been like poached almost. You get like a kiwi note in there. Very unique. One thing I've noticed about Balvenie is you'll get notes you don't expect to get, especially after you allow it some time to open up. That's why I really like a lot of the whiskeys that come from this company. On the finish, goes from sweet to sour. A few spices in there, cinnamon, nutmeg. You get this beautiful overlay of oak, more of that kiwi, that green apple kind of fading into the finish. It's a pretty long finish, which is good. That's generally a sign of a well-made whiskey when you have a nice long finish, and of course older whiskeys too. I got some notes on the finish here as well. Turns a little bit tannic, a little bit wood bitter, overwhelmingly so if you add too much water. The kiwi and green fruit notes continue. I put here it's a medium to long finish. I would say it's probably a long finish. I'm not even gonna if around with that one. Bits of almond oil, more wood, a hint of English breakfast tea, and that's about it. It's a very well balanced whiskey. I do knock the points down on it just a little bit because it is at 43%. If it was at 46, I feel like we get a lot more from this. We get a lot more flavor from it. And it was only released one time, so it's kind of hard to find. When I'm going to be doing reviews on here, I want it to be stuff that you can get a hold of, something that's readily available, you can find just about anywhere. This one, you're probably either going to have to just luck up and find it like I did, or you're going to have to buy it at auction. I got it for about $150, $160. If you got this at auction, it's probably going to cost you probably a lot more than that. So hopefully you'll find a bottle of this just sitting around somewhere and you can grab it up like I did. And that's pretty much going to conclude our first Whisky Daddy review. I'm going to score this whiskey right at about a 91. I think it's a very good whiskey. I wish it was bottled a little bit higher strength. But other than that, I recommend that you get it, and we'll see you here next time on Whisky Day. We're going to review a whiskey that is made a little bit closer to home. We'll talk to you later.